Welcome to my latest video. So, in this video, I take a couple belts and some big pants that I both got at the thrift store just this last Saturday to make a sheath for my crosscut saw. If you haven't seen the video for my crosscut saw, there'll be a link in the description below. It's a great video where I restore my crosscut saw, which was extremely rusty in the beginning. So to make the sheath, I found the largest neutral gray or green color pair of jeans that I could at the thrift store. This pair of Gap jeans fit the bill. They were 36-inch waist and 34 length, which worked out just about right to where I could cut the pockets off without really going into the upper part of the pants too much. I had to whip out my pocket knife to get this pocket off. Getting the pocket off with my pocket knife. Now I plan on putting the edge of the saw up against this one of these belts. So this one I plan on folding it in half and stitching it together along that one leg seam. It's the outside leg seam of the pair of pants that I chose. I wanted to double stitch it, so I first punched the holes. The hole punch I have is just a 2-hole at a time, so it was a lot of hole punching. But the hole punching didn't even compare to the amount of stitching that I was going to have to do to stitch this on. Took a lot longer than I thought it would. I also got this kite string at the thrift store. I've actually used it for a number of different projects. I didn't just get it this past weekend. I've had it for a little while. I actually have 2 of them that I've found at the thrift store. The first one, though, I took all the string off quite a long time ago. The exact same setup. I'm a ham radio operator, and I used the kite string winder. I don't know what you call it, but I used it to wind up my portable antenna. So I like to do portable QRP radio from mountaintops with my scouts. But that's a whole nother story. So this is the beginning of the stitching. That took a long time. I'm not fast. I'm not good at this. My fingers were raw by the time I was done. You guys get to watch it and fast forward. Don't get to experience everything in between the several hours that it took. This kite string is a nylon thread string, and I just melt the tips. It leaves little mess at all. I try to put all the melting on the inside where it's not visible, but I think the stitching looked great. It just took a long time. A really long time. But I think it was worth it. You guys will get to see what it looks like in the end. At this point, actually, in the build, because I still had the full pant leg going on, it was kind of worrying me. I had an idea of what I wanted it to look like, but I was starting to feel like my sheath was just going to look like a pant leg with a leather strip down the side. But it didn't in the end. But at this point, that's what it looked like. In fact, that's what my son thought. He thought, this is going to look silly, Dad. It looks like you're just putting your saw in your pants. Now I just hemmed up the top part of the pants here to where the saw will go in. I double stitched it. Now I'm just attaching the saw along the edge, creasing that leather belt in half. You can see there was a little water stain on the jeans, and that's because I soaked the belt a little bit so that I could crease it really well. Now I've got the saw in there. I'm just following along the saw to cut this first half, and I've folded it completely in half here, and that'll be the bottom of where I'm going to be attaching my snaps. Just pinning it up, and then cut the top flap that we'll be folding over. And this one I'm just cutting right to the edge of the belt. And then I plan on folding it back up, which now I'm pinning as I go up. And it's in that halfway point that I plan on putting my snaps, both the top and bottom portion of my snaps. Now I'm just sewing that up. I triple seamed both, or triple stitched both halves of that part of the sheath so that I can have a good area to attach the snaps to. You can see it wobble a little bit. I am by no means a marvelous seamstress, but I do use the sewing machine quite a bit for projects. It was a gift actually for my wife a long time ago, and I don't even know if she knows how to use it. She wanted one for some project a long time ago, and maybe used it then. But since it has been used by myself and my middle daughter, she likes to sew and has sewn quite a bit of stuff. But we're the primary users of the sewing machine. For me, it's normally man crafting. For her, it's normally girl type stuff. Like, she likes cosplay things. She's made a few costumes and things like that. Harry Potter, and capes, and all kinds of fun stuff. Now, this piece of leather I plan on having right at the end of the sheath, and this is to, one, keep the saw from falling at the bottom, but also I wanted something robust so you can actually stand it up on the end. Again, kite string. I'm finding that if I melted the tips and made a nice thin strip, it worked better for my stitching. This thread was 3 strands twisted, and if I didn't melt the ends, it tended to fray while I sewed. So, again, a double row of stitching on each side as it enclosed. This creates just a small little pocket for the corner end of the saw to fit in. Now I'm just sticking the saw back in the sheath because now I need it in there to be able to mark correctly where I want to have the snaps. I put the snaps 6 inches apart. I actually, although it wasn't visible here, I looked at a few different options. I laid out the snaps. I thought maybe 4 inches apart would be good at the beginning, but it just looked like too many snaps. So I did them 6 inches apart, and that made it so I just needed 6 total to hold the sheath together. Now here, I slowed it down just so you can see the steps. There's 2 pieces to each half of the snap. One's kind of a rivet portion, and the little tool that I have is pounding it in. On this top part of the snap, the tool has a concave piece that you stick the snap in so it maintains the shape as you're setting the grommet portion of the snap together. There's the little tool right there. You can see the divot in the top. Very handy tool if you do stuff with snaps, which I do for a lot of sheaths. They've come in handy. I actually got them, or my wife rather, got them at a garage sale a long time ago, like a whole bunch of snaps. She got a whole bunch of sewing supplies, which is funny because she never sews anything. But for me, the snaps and some of the other sewing supplies have come in really handy over the years. The snaps are great. I still probably have another like 40 or 50 snap sets, and so it'll come in handy for plenty of axe sheaths. I don't normally use more than one snap on a sheath, so this was a little more than normal. So basically I'm done with the main part of the sheath. I wanted to attach a second belt to it, one to kind of hold it in. It also will give me something to attach the sheath to if I say I wanted to carry it in a backpack or things like that. This saw is really only about like 4 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet long, somewhere in there. And so it would actually be a good packing saw you could go take in if you're doing some trail maintenance, things like that. It would be super handy. And this sheath makes it way more versatile. And as you can tell, at least I think it's starting to look super cool. I really like the way it turned out. At this point, it no longer looked like my saw was inside a pant leg. So quite happy with this, the way it turned out. So here I'm just seeing, I need to see at what point I need to attach the other half of the belt on the back of the pants, or the back of the sheath, rather. I called it pants. It's not pants. It's a sheath. You can see on this belt too, the previous owner, the belt was from a thrift store. There's a point back there where it was the back of the previous owner's pants. Created quite a divot and kind of a crease in the belt. I soaked it a little bit, tried to straighten it out as best I could. I may actually add in like a D-ring or something like that in the back as an attachment point, so you can attach a carabiner to it or something. And I was thinking maybe I'd put it right where that crease is to keep it straighter and actually kind of give it a purpose. But we'll see. I didn't do that for this build. I may do it later. My fingers are raw still. They hurt from all that stitching. It's like 4 hours of stitching that bottom belt along the tooth edge. And there you have it. That is the end. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, let me know. Hit the like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be alerted for upcoming videos. And look for opportunities to give those old things new life. In this case, I gave a pair of jeans and a couple belts a better purpose in life to house my crosscut saw. Ciao.